All right, everyone that watched this video for Monday, February 4th, showing you the SPY. For those of you that were in chat on Friday, had a nice day, but it really ended up being kind of a boring afternoon. You can see the SPY daily candle closing just about where it opened. It's had quite the run from the lows and really kind of a slow day. If you weren't there, though, a couple calls from the chat room, PYX. I started off my day plus 522.80 just on this simple opening range breakout. This was the opening 5-minute candle for PYX. Wayne put this on my radar in the pre-market. I'd kind of forgotten about it. It had that huge move the day before and then started to roll over and it came back up. I thought, hey, the pot stocks were really strong. This one has been a recent high flyer for sure. And I got long right there, scaled out into this, and I kept some hoping for the big move, and then it rolled back over and sold the rest of mine shares flat, as we teach, right? As we teach in the course. Protect your entry once you start scaling out. Anyway, it was a nice way to start the day. And I also want to slide this over from Friday afternoon. Wayne called this through 9 whole number inflection point. Ring a bell to anyone? But it wasn't just some random whole number. I superimposed the daily chart, and that's what had Wayne's attention. This thing was kind of grinding higher. Big seller at 9, and the daily chart looked like, hey, we're breaking out today, right? So just a great heads up by Wayne through 9, and you can see pretty quick instant feedback. So what are we watching for Monday? ADIL had this nice big pop. It was on the gap playlist, but never set up as a clean gap play. And then if I go to 5-minute candles, you'll see in the afternoon, all of a sudden volume came in and a very strong close. So I certainly think because of that intraday action, it's worth watching on Monday. SXTC, just a recent high flyer, right? This thing went from 368 the day before to 847 and is kind of trotting along sideways now. This is one I'm going to watch all week. I'd like to see that come in for a day or two. It kind of came in a little bit on Friday. I'd like to see another red day, and then I would like this one much more if it would get back down near the 8 day. So I'm going to be watching it on Monday, but I'd prefer it to give me a nice intraday trigger on Tuesday or later. TMSR kind of reminds me of, let's go back to that SXTC, that day one, right? And you had a nice, even though it closed, I'll show you what it looked like. Even though it closed in the middle of its range, or maybe even below the middle of its range on the big day, the very next day it gave us a nice trade. So maybe we have a similar setup in TMSR. Big volume for this stock, closing below the middle of its range, but we're going to watch it and see if it gives a low risk setup. Sometimes you can catch shorts off guard on something like that. BOXL had this nice volume spike here, and it's really just kind of flagging, so I'm going to keep that one on watch. AXSM, I just showed you this one, Wayne's call on Friday, and it closed, kind of still in breakout territory, so maybe we get a follow-through day on that one. FBIO had the gap up on Thursday, sold off, and then Friday took out Thursday's highs on much lower volume than occurred on the gap up day. So this one's kind of interesting. Maybe this one continues to follow through higher. NBEV, one of the pot stocks, a beverage pot stock, if you will, is still really coiling. You kind of picture it, how coiled this is, right? You can picture a line here over like 750. You might knock down this catalyst, and you have a catalyst here, and this one looks like maybe ready to head higher. Having said that, though, as some of us saw on Friday, some of these pot stocks are pretty extended and kind of need a break. And I wouldn't say NBEV is in that camp, but your CG, well, let's just look at them real quick. CGC, not really. Crown, I think, is the one that's really, really extended. So we want to keep an eye on that whole group, though. AWSM had this breakout about a week ago and is really kind of flagging, so I do want to watch that one. CNAT had this, after this huge gap down, you kind of have a nice little cup and handle forming, so maybe this breaks through this handle and up into this gap. So I think that one's worth watching. Overstock, now why am I interested in this one? It had a really nice 2 or 3 day move, basically, from 1431 in about 2.5 sessions all the way to 1979. That's a great 3-day move on big volume, and now it's just chopping around. So what am I looking for? Let's switch to 15-minute candles. So it topped out here at almost 20. All right. So notice the very next day, here's the opening 15-minute candle. It topped out. It hit its highs really in the first 45 minutes. You can make that same argument for the next day. and the next day and Friday. So what I'm looking for hasn't happened in several days. And when you have a recent high flyer, a recent big mover that hasn't broken out, as I guess the best way I can put it, that hasn't broken to the upside out of a fairly tight range in a few days, it can be a pretty powerful setup. But what I'm looking for, and really kind of the only thing I'm looking for, is sideways move throughout the day and an afternoon high of day break. That would be a pretty powerful setup in Overstock. So unless I get that, I probably won't trade it, but it's very, very strong stock lately. AVCO, I've been talking about this one for several days, have not had a trigger in it yet since I started watching it. But it had this huge move, then a nice secondary move, and it's come back down into a pretty tight range the last few days. It trades pretty thin, but just like Overstock, what I'm kind of looking for, notice that after the big move in AVCO, the secondary big move, I should say, it topped out at 925. The very next day, put in its high early. Next day, too. The next day, maybe about an hour in, put in its high, and then also on Friday, about 30 minutes in, put in its high. So this is another one. I'd like to see AVCO light up the new high of day ticker in the afternoon, and we might get a little squeeze. Think MBOT, whatever it was a couple weeks ago. Remember, that was a great trade. PYX, again, a huge 2-day move and gave back some. Even though I made $500 and something in this one on Friday morning, it ended up closing kind of ugly. And to me, that's an advertisement for day trading, right? Having the right stocks on watch, getting long at those points on an intraday basis where you should be green right away and people should pile in where you can scale out into that, and then protecting your entry on the rest. That is why I day trade. A lot of people would look at this and say, well, I bet you lost money going long in PYX on Friday. No, I didn't, right? Started off my day plus 500 something. Having said that, now it had a nice 2-day move, and it's starting to come back down and partially retrace this big move. So I'm going to start watching that one for a potential bounce already on Monday. And then lastly, I've got BTX, which had this huge move for this stock, right? It went from 97 cents to $1.65 intraday, which this would have been, what, Tuesday? Yeah, this was on Tuesday. And now you've just got a few days lower on declining volume. Looking for this one to maybe turn back up on Monday or Tuesday. We'll see. It's going to be on watch. In addition to all of these, we're going to add some pre-market gappers to the list. That'll give us plenty to watch. And hopefully we'll have another great trading day on Monday. And we'll see you all in chat then.